time for Lykken on Lending.
Welcome, everybody. Good to have you with us.
Welcome to Lykken on Lending, a weekly mortgage market update providing up-to-the-minute information on interest rates, loan programs, and hot industry news, all related to the mortgage industry. Brought to you by Transformational Mortgage Solutions. To participate in today's program, our guest call-in line is 646-716-4972. Now here's your host of Lykken on Lending, David Lykken.
Let's begin.
Listeners, I'm excited to have back on the podcast Joe Welu. He is the founder and CEO of Total Expert, a market leader, an innovator, and a real thought leader in the marketplace. And so I'm excited to have you back on the podcast, Joe. Good to have you here.
Hey, David. Thanks for the opportunity, buddy. Good to be back with you.
I have respect so much the vision that you have and the direction that you're taking Total Expert. You have become so much more than just a CRM. And last year, you introduced the topic of customer intelligence. And I really enjoyed that conversation, but you just keep taking it further and further, and it keeps expanding. What's interesting, others are now picking up on the quote unquote intelligence part of it and starting to, a little bit of plagiarism. It looks like they're going on out there with some others that we mutually like and respect. But tell us a little bit about what's been developing in that, and what is the bigger vision for what you have there, Joe?
Yeah, maybe start with the vision. And the vision has always been, we believe that lending and broader financial services is still very much a people business, right? Mm-hmm. And it's about long-term relationships. And ultimately, if you want to build long-term relationships with customers, you want to deliver value to them, you need to really deeply understand what's going on in their world, what their financial profile looks like. And so we started and really grounded on the fact that we believe fundamentally the more data and the more intelligence, if you will, that you can have on a particular customer, that customer profile, and if you can continue to build that robust data set around that customer, it's going to enable you to better serve that customer and ultimately to create growth opportunities for your organization. And so customer intelligence is becoming embedded really throughout our entire platform as a core competency for Total Expert. And so this past year, we launched our initial package of data points, of alerts, insights, we call them. And we're continuing to expand where that goes. And we've done massive amounts of work from a technology perspective on the architecture and infrastructure to be able to really do a massive scale, the massive scale that so many of our large customers need. And so we're going very fast down the path of bringing in additional data sources and continuing to enrich that profile for every record in the platform.
That's exciting. I don't want to get too much under the hood, but I think architecture is something I've come to respect and dig into a little bit. Give us some insights into your philosophy about architecture when you're doing, because that's where a lot of people have a vision, but it's oftentimes in how it's architected and built that where things don't perform quite as represented. But you are performing real well. Talk about that.
Well, certainly, we're fortunate to have an amazing team, amazing engineering and product team internally at Total Expert. And over the past couple of years, it's really been understanding what our customers' goals are. I mean, ultimately, for us, everything ties into making our customers successful. So everything we do has to make sense for how do we create value to our end customer. And what we realized in meeting with a lot of the strategic leaders and the scale that they're thinking, right, the vision they have for their organizations and the size companies they want to build, the sizes of the customer databases they want to be able to continue to build on top of. We realize that we need to become the platform they need us to be, right? Mm-hmm. Which is ultimately infinite scalability. And when you're building technology and you're building software without getting too in the weeds, and I'm not naturally by nature a technical guy, but I certainly do love technology, and I've learned very carefully through trial and error that if you don't have the right architecture decisions and you don't put things in place correctly, the machine will break down and it will ultimately derail you, right? And so for the sake of our customers being successful, we wanted to invest in making sure that as we have this promise of the most comprehensive customer profile in the industry that Total Expert is able to assemble. And then all the opportunity you're able to unlock from all that data that we're going to be able to execute on it, right? So it was really, grounded in the necessity of being able to deliver on that scale. And so that led us to really do some back end work and understanding where we needed to do some investment, and we made those investments.
Well, and you're doing really, really well. For example, 2022 Total Expert powered over 2.1 million mortgage loans. That's extraordinary, representing
Isn't that crazy?
Crazy. It represents 30% of the total U.S. mortgage loan volume. It's impressive. So if you could unpack how you've accomplished this, because you were talking about architecture and scale a minute ago, this is proof that you've already achieved that, but there's more ahead.
Well, so let me be clear on that, David, because we look at it as we haven't really achieved anything at this point. We're just getting started, right? You have to have that mentality, and I believe that. And look, the only reason that we've been able to evolve and be successful is because we've been able to have fantastic partners in our customers, right? Our customers, and ultimately some of our other partners in our ecosystem. And we're incredibly grateful to be able to get to that scale, but ultimately it really has to do with aligning your technology to what your customers need to accomplish and what drives value for them. And traditionally, we've done a great job. I think our team has done a great job at making sure we're aligning to the most important things inside the customer. And an example of that is right now, every organization is trying to figure out how do they use data, how do they use technology to create and generate more deal flow, more opportunities, right?
So important right now.
We're really leaning in there and in those partnerships and helping them identify. I was on the phone yesterday with a customer, and they're in growth mode, they're recruiting, and they're trying to level up the volume. And we're looking at the customer journey and saying, there's opportunities to use data and intelligence to surface additional deal flow that you're missing. And so, those are the types of things we're having conversations about every single day.
It's really exciting. And I want to get your perspective of what you see are the biggest opportunities for lenders who aren't currently leveraging customer data and intelligence, such as has, to give the insights, especially in the purchase market where we are at today and how things are off. You're talking about how those that are using it are having greater success. Dive into it a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. So the organizations that over the last couple of years have embraced data and being data-driven in their business, all across their business really, are winning at a much higher rate than the lenders and organizations, banks, lenders, credit unions, whatever the segment is, that have sort of fallen behind on their sophistication. And you don't need to be incredibly sophisticated to be a data-driven business. There's a lot of technology that simplifies it, but a lot of the lenders that we partner with and work with are at various points in their maturity curve of being what I call really data-driven in the business. And ultimately, what you look at with lenders is the organizations that have, say, X thousand past customer records in their platform. Are they taking steps to make sure they retain those customers? That's part one. Part two is the leads they're generating. Are they putting intelligence around those leads, and are they monitoring those leads? Are they protecting that pipeline so they understand what's happening along that part of the customer journey? And what happens when you do a great job at that, you ultimately increase your conversions, right? So same amount of marketing money, same amount of personnel costs, but higher production rates because you're simply converting more of those leads into closed deals, right? So those are the two buckets that we see lenders successfully working and closing those gaps and generating deal flow.
Well, it's really exciting to see the difference. We have a number of clients. In fact, we recommend your product to our clients if they don't have a CRM.
Thank you.
And we are out really being evangelizing for this. It's evangelizing the vision, because what we're all about is helping more people get into homes and solving the issues. And therefore you got to help the lenders, and your tool is so effective to that. But give us some insights, Joe, into how you see the future, especially as it relates to customer intelligence.
Sure. So first, we see the future CRM as a category it really is an outdated word, right? And let me explain why. So CRM in its traditional sense is it's static, right? I put a bunch of data in a CRM, and its only value is really ultimately how much input your sales team is putting into that CRM. Are they using it? Are they tracking it, right? So what we believe the future is moving towards this platform that is dynamic, right? It has a comprehensive profile of every customer, of every lead at the center. And then there's intelligence that continues to enrich that profile so that you understand what the customer needs, their communication preferences, their timing, right? Their intent. And then there's an orchestration and an automation layer that will take action on all of that intelligence and data and actually enable my sales organization, my customer facing teams to have very high quality conversations, to give advice at the right time, right? So that's how we see things evolving, and it's evolving very, very rapidly. There's a lot of big lenders out there that understand the future is about being data driven, still human first, right? Human centric, right? Meaning people are still fundamentally critical, but I have to be smarter about powering the business, and so it's not, historically we've seen this, the LOS, you've seen a CRM, you've seen a POS, you've seen your servicing platforms. Now those are all data sources that you should be able to connect together to draw this holistic picture, this holistic profile of a customer and what they need, what they want, what's going on in their world. And ultimately we see the biggest value is going to belong to the organizations that can connect all of those dots.
It's really exciting to see where it's going. And technology is exploding. Pause to editors right now, big pause right here. What I'd like, and what I was thinking about as you're talking about this, I'd love to get your thought leadership on ChatGPT and all the things going on.
I was just on a call yesterday with the leadership team from OpenAI.
Oh, good. Let's go ahead. Yeah. Would you mind going into that? Because this is the stuff because what this does is it positions you as you're there. I was on a webinar yesterday talking about this, and you're so uniquely positioned to really capitalize on it with the intelligence that you have. So let's go there. Okay, we're off pause, editors. Here we go. Joe, there's some new exciting developments. ChatGPT is one of them. I'd love to get your thoughts. How is it possible to integrate this into what you're doing? And where do you see it going?
Well, we're actually sending a team out to, funny you mentioned that, we're sending a team out to San Francisco to meet with the OpenAI team in May to work on bringing some of those capabilities into our platform. And so ChatGPT, which is a product from the OpenAI organization, is a game changing in a sense that we're seeing AI start to be able to do things that we assumed were probably 5 years down the road, right? 10 years down the road, maybe. And so the underlying technology and what are called really these large language learning models, to where these platforms have massive treasure troves of data from every single thing on the internet, basically, right? And it's essentially taught these models to understand basic human language, right? And what we see as the future is not so much AI, the capabilities such as ChatGPT, and there's the commercial. I had the opportunity yesterday, actually, to hear from some of the leadership at OpenAI via one of our investors, and what they're going to be rolling out for the developer community, the software community, to be able to really, what I believe is accelerate the viability of those capabilities in everyday business software, right? So what we see the big use cases are moving forward is not so much how can I completely replace the work that somebody's doing, but how can I make them incredibly more effective? And I'll give you an example. If I'm trying to design a campaign, okay, and I'm trying to put out a piece of content or a campaign, and I'm relying on my copywriters, that might be 10 or 15 or 20 hours of time to draft those emails, those campaigns, right? So what if the first draft was completely done automatically for you, and the skill sets of your copywriters were simply spending the last half an hour going through and editing
it up. Yeah.
Right? And sort of just honing it.
Yeah, that's what gets so exciting when you look at what this is capable of doing and how it can accelerate. I think you used the right term. And what I'm really interested, what I really appreciate you saying is it's still going to be a customer face-to-face, people-to-people business. But when we add tools around the people to accelerate this process, it really is a game changer, Joe.
It is. And I think of it as we're giving people superpowers, right? I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
And if you can give your average marketer, your average salesperson, some superpowers to help them be better at what they do, and help them actually be able to focus more on what we believe is the most important thing, which is the relationship, right?
Right.
The lifetime value of those customer relationships. And so how do you put the human in scenarios where they're connecting human to human, they're spending their time on the relationship, giving the high quality advice, and you're just making everything more efficient.
Yeah.
So that's how we are thinking about it.
It's very exciting, but they have to have Total Expert to take advantage of this. So how can people get a hold of you?
Well, we hope so.
we want that to accomplish that. So how do people get a hold of you? What's the most effective way? Go to the website, reach out to your salespeople, or what do you recommend?
My email address, as always, it hasn't changed, joe@totalexpert.com. Try to answer everything that comes in. And then, of course, our website, totalexpert.com. We're always happy to have conversations. We're having a lot of just high level conversations, comparing notes with leaders, even leaders from organizations that aren't customers. So we love engaging in those conversations, certainly.
That's exciting. Very good. Joe, thank you so much for being here with me. Really appreciate it.
Great to be with you, David.
You've been listening to Lykken on Lending, a weekly mortgage market update with your host, David Lykken of Transformational Mortgage Solutions. Join us next week, and thanks for listening.